safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to this wonderful edition of Safari Live. Right, there we have some beautiful giraffe, everybody. You are in the northern parts of the Safari Live broadcast in the Masai Mara. My name is James Henry. David is on camera. There he is. He's wearing a colourful bracelet today. Don't know what that means. And we are looking at some giraffe. On the other vehicle, we've got Taylor McCurdy. I don't know where she is right now. I don't know what she's doing. And then, very specially at Juma, if and when we can fix the technical glitches, we have got a special interviewee called Noel. Nothing to do with Yuletide, as far as I know, but Noel is going to be taking a drive today. Please be nice to her, as you always are to all of us when we have been on our very first drive. So that's going to be coming out of Juma. Hashtag Safari Live is how you talk to us on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat in the YouTube stream. Otherwise, I believe that the carrier pigeon ways are open at the moment, only because, of course, there are birds migrating back down towards the south. Alternate, normally that method doesn't work. Good. Geraldine is in my ear, which is positive and negative depending on my performance, and would love to hear from you through the course of the afternoon. That, of course, you're looking at not Geraldine, but a Tippleskirchie. That is the giraffe that we have over here. The one other character I need to introduce you to is James. Not me, but James in the back of the car, who is our Askari today, and he's going to be helping us hopefully find some cheetah. Our plan, we've already seen the 6 Bilashaka nomads that we saw riding across the road on the back of a hippopotamus yesterday morning. You heard me correctly, that's what I said. And we've come to around where Yaya of the Marsh Pride was this morning. She was lying in a patch of reeds over there, actually right over there. I don't think she's there anymore. I suspect she's gone into the sort of bushes over here. Then we saw another 2 lionesses and another young male lion on the hunt early this morning. So we're going to head around there and see if we can't pick up what's going on. But ideally, we want to try and find the 2 conservancy where we are not allowed to go. It's okay, we still have 150,000 hectares to explore, so fear not. Let's head across to Taylor McCurdy now and find out exactly which part of the Mara Triangle she is knocking about in. Hello everybody, I'm not Taylor McCurdy. Taylor does not have any audio, we don't know why. Someone will probably be beaten, hopefully flogged very shortly to find out why. I do not see any lions in the grass there. Oh, is that a lion? I'm sure they've just drifted into this bush for the day. I'm not going to go and look for them in there because we have no signal in there. So let's continue. It is a gorgeous afternoon, I'm going to guess. We used to get this information from the final control, Now I have to use my finger. I'm going to guess it's about 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Okay, we're going to give up with Taylor. She's going to be strapped to the mizzen mast and given a stern talking to. We're going to go across to Noel instead at Juma. Good luck, Noel. Everyone will be nice to you, I promise. Just be nice to them.
Good afternoon, Safari Live viewers. My name is Noel. I'm doing a small little interview with you all today. On camera, I've got Sebastian. It's very overcast. It was freezing cold. Well, freezing cold by our standards this morning here in the sands. Looked like it would possibly rain, but the clouds have lifted. So we're out seeing what we can find you to show you today. We've been doing a little bit of birding. I'm going to take over Byron's 100 birds and see if we can add on any or just up him on his 100 birds. There's an interesting one, Seb, if you can just go there to about 10 o'clock. Green wood hoopoo or a red-billed wood hoopoo. He's just there on there. You can see him beautifully. long, what's called a decurved beak. So that decurved beak is an over curvature. So you see how he's probing inside of there? He's looking for insects. And I say the male and female are virtually the same. A little bit of sheen, a little bit of iridescence on the feathers. So basically with iridescence, what you're getting is you're getting these very smooth, almost see-through pockets within the feather itself, within the makeup of the feather. And then when the light hits it at different angles, it changes colors. So usually you see more than one. So there that one flies, and you can hear this one's calling, and just back into my right-hand side, you can hear the other ones answering. They're a gregarious bird species, so it's usually a pair, and then you've got youngsters from the previous season around as well. You can see them getting through that deadwood where a lot of insects will be. Thank you, everybody. All right. So I'm assuming Byron has this one on his list because it's a fairly common bird. You see it all year round in this area. If you go to our 1 o'clock seb, you've got the mate that's over there at the bottom, and then you're going to have another one from the group pulling in just now, just at our 12:30. And then they'll travel around in little groups like this, and this is what they do for most of the day. And then just at the back, there was a little dwarf mongoose seb. It's going to move. There's a little bit of brush. I'm going to try and reverse. Before we linked over from James with his giraffe and the Mara, no, it's gone back. We had some really beautiful dwarf mongoose tracks on the side of the road. Smaller than... Hello, Sianak. That's a great question. I've been guiding for a decade now. I started guiding in the Waterberg, and I've moved down to Lowveld. I've worked in Zambia. I've worked in Kenya. I've worked in Namibia. I did some lodge management up in Botswana. And then I've been back in the Lowveld area for just over a year now, and busy exploring my options, so that's why I'm here at Safari Live. Thank you. All right, let's see what else we can find. This overcast weather is very interesting because it's actually not very windy. All right, we are going to start linking back to the Mara. Steph has a male lion. We are going to keep carrying on this side and see if we can find you any cats or maybe some elephants. I love some elephants. And while Steph is up there with talking to you about this male lion, going through hopefully a lot of the conservation that we're dealing with up in East Africa and Southern Africa, there's less than 25,000 wild lions left on the whole continent. It's dropped 100 years ago. There was about 200,000 lions. So the conservation of lions is a very big deal for our community. And it's something to talk about. The CITES convention that they had recently, instead of putting the lion, they should be on the endangered species list, they put the my bull, but Steph can double check that for me. So it's something that we have to constantly talk about, constantly keep bringing up, because they're an integral part of the ecosystem. All right, linking over to Steph with his male lion.
Well, I must be honest, I'm sure you'll join me in greeting Noel, and I wish her all the luck for her interview drive. I know they are very stressful. Now, she was talking about lions and lion conservation. We have a male lion, yay, on the side of the river. He's been lying up here in the grass for the whole day and pretty much scaring every wildebeest in creation away from this particular crossing, but he is a beautiful male lion. I'm not too sure exactly which male he is. My friend James would be able to tell you that. I am 100% useless, unfortunately, when it comes to which male lion is which here. They change so often, they move so often. What I can tell you, though, is he's a beautiful male lion. He's in very, very good condition. He's also quite habituated to vehicles, as you'll see now as I zoom out. There's a couple of vehicles in the vicinity of where he is now, which shows that he is a Mara Triangle or a Masai Mara Game Reserve male lion, and he's lying on the banks of the river, which makes him associated to the Paradise Pride. Now, you do get male lions that are nomadic, especially young males, although he looks like he should be part of a coalition or should be part of a pride structure, and it's because he is just in such good condition. Big, he's not young, he's not timid, he's not looking scarified and old. and you probably find that he's one of the breeding males in this area. Now, to add some value to what Noel was talking about lion conservation, there are fewer lions left in the world than what there are rhinos left in the Kruger National Park. How's that for a statistic for you? So fewer rhinos left in the world than there are rhinoceros in the Kruger National Park. And lion are now on, I don't quite know if they're on the endangered species list, but they are definitely threatened. Their numbers are below 20,000 left in the wild, and that is a shocking statistic, is it not? Less than 20,000 lions left in the wild. There's a very good chance, if we don't do something about lion conservation going forward, that our grandchildren will not see lions in the wild. How sad is that? But before that happens, we can celebrate the fact that we have one of the most beautiful male lions lying here in Kenya on the banks of the Mara River in the Masai Mara Game Reserve. Right. Now, what I would like to do is send you over to Taylor, who I'm sure is waiting to say hello. I don't think that she's been able to say hello yet this morning. And so what I'm going to do is show you my office. How fantastic is this? All good. And we're going to send you off to Taylor and catch up with you in a little bit.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're staring out into the distance, searching for lions, which is quite exciting. We're trying to find the ones that Scott had earlier on this morning on the sunrise safari. But again, good afternoon. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig, and we are in the middle of the Mara Triangle, and we're not quite all the way south just yet, but we're getting there. But now we're off-road. Can you believe it? We're going to try to find these lions. We're going to head towards a drainage system, which got the better of Scott, and don't seem to be as easy to navigate as, well, the drainage lines and the Sabi sand. But remember, this is live. This is interactive. It's happening right now. Hashtag Safari Live. And of course, you can chat to us on the YouTube chat too. But let's keep going. And of course, a big welcome to Noel. And I hope that you enjoy your interview drive. And I hope everything goes smoothly. I'm sure it will. Well, we look forward to, of course, the next couple of hours with you. Now, something that I've been really enjoying as we've been driving around and being able to off-road is now, while there's no rain, it's actually quite easy to off-road through. There's a couple of rocky areas that limits your movement, and then of course a few termite mounds, but otherwise it's sort of fairly flat. If you go relatively slowly, you can just sort of bounce about. It feels as if you are on a boat in the ocean going across the ripples. So it's actually quite nice. And of course, you may have heard me say that Craig's on camera with me. So Batman made it safely all the way to Kenya. Craig, what do you think of Kenya so far? Amazing. He's loving it. I don't think he's seen so much open spaces in his entire life. So now I'm just trying to see. I think we're going to come up to this. I'm also using my mobile device. I'm using maps and just making sure that I'm going in the right places and that we're heading towards the right drainage line. And we are indeed going in the right direction. So we're going to keep searching around here. I'm going to be using my binoculars a lot. I think we're going to start checking for some shady spots. It's been exceptionally warm out here. So I reckon maybe they're resting up a little bit. Hopefully we'll find some lions in a little bit. I'm going to send you back across to South Africa where, well, Noel is driving around, and I hope she has a good drive.
Something to show you. We're doing a little bit of birding along the way. Just checking some of the dams, trying to see if anything's come for a drink. We were talking earlier about the cloudy weather. So with this cloudy weather, because there's not a lot of wind, I would expect to see a bit more out than we're seeing at the moment. Usually with the wind, what ends up happening is most mammal species use their hearing and their sense of smell as opposed to their eyesight like us. So you would expect with a less windy, overcast day, sorry, there's just some elephant tracks that are here I was having a look at. You would expect with a less windy, overcast day that there would be more out and about, because when it is windy, they will go hide in the bushes, because when it's cooler like this, the predators are going to start moving earlier. We are moving from winter back into summer. We had a super warm day yesterday, which would have made the predators move later in general. All right, so those elephant tracks are heading off over to our right-hand side. I'm going to loop around if I can and see maybe if we can do anything with them. They looked fairly fresh. Elephants are pretty amazing. We were talking a little bit now before we linked over to Steph about some of the conservation with the lions. Some interesting things with conservation with elephant across the continent is elephants actually don't have as much room to move around in as they used to. So we as humans have taken away a lot of their habitat. And what you're finding is you're finding pockets, in Chobe, for instance, in Botswana, in conservation before. Leopard and lion and elephant, but most of my conservation work is actually as a guide, and it's really important. We are in the really fortunate space to be able to teach and to educate a lot of people, especially Safari Live. And there's a beautiful male kudu coming up ahead. And so with that aspect, for me in particular, I find it really, really important to give people data and give people information about things like elephant and rhino and leopard and lion. We're just going to focus ahead here with this male kudu. Big, beautiful spiraling horns. There was a second one that went across the road quickly. Kudu, this one's just having a little bit of a bite there. What you'll notice with kudu, with the entire body shape, is you've got a head and a neck that are relatively along the same line, the head sticking up a little bit higher, yeah, and a tiny little mouth. So even if you didn't know what this animal ate, with the way that the neck stretches with the mouth being up that high, he's probably going to eat something like leaves, something like a wildebeest, which hopefully we'll see a little bit later. The head will be positioned down with a very wide lip to pick up grass. And notice when he walked across the road there and how he's walking now, very carefully, putting one foot down, the next foot in the same spot. It minimizes the noise that they make in the bush. They're very selective browsers. They're used for determining the health of an ecosystem. So kudu and warthog. So if you're having a drought, we had a horrible drought area. Interestingly enough, a lot of the leaves were still around, but not the grass wasn't really there. So the warthogs were having a very difficult time. The kudu still did okay, but if you're having a full-on drought where everything's affected, then you're going to end up with a scenario where your kudu are going to look very skinny, thin in bones. It's a beautiful shot there. Head over. So again, the spiraling horns they were talking about help blend into the bush, the thicker bush where they like to be. The wind's picking up a little bit now. You can see him listening. So you're with me, but if with the wind, the way that the wind is moving, he's going to position himself so that he puts his head to where the wind he can smell, and then he's going to put his ears back like what you're seeing now. So he's listening to me a bit, but he'll put his ears back to hear anything that might be behind him. There's that track-on-track walking we talked about. Very, very soft. Very quiet. And then the whole makeup, the whole body structure, everything's meant to blend into the bush. Safari Wildman, I believe you asked what are the size of his horns. FC, if we could just relate that question one more time, please. Yes, Safari Wildman, that's a wonderful comment. They are fabulous horned. Kudu, male kudus are one of the most beautiful antelope species, in my opinion, to look at. And that male that we're focusing on at the moment has a gorgeous set of horns, that is for sure. What you'll see this time of year, kudus don't have necessarily a mating season, but you'll see when the males are not with females, not ready to mate with females, they form these little bachelor herds, and this is what we have occurring here at the moment. Just drive up and reposition. Sorry, FC, just repeat that one more time. All right, well, we're going to leave these kudus for now and carry on and see what else we can find for you. Let's hand you over to Steph on the river cam with some zebra.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, it's myself on the river cams, and finally I have some action to show you. We've got some zebra trotting down to this particular crossing. This is Dusty Crossing that I'm showing you. You would excuse us for the odd piece of signal breakup. There are storms all over the Mara at the moment, and what's happening is the rain and the clouds and all the atmospheric interference is creating havoc with the links that we have to these cameras. Not forgetting that we are 100% live. This is happening right now, right on the Mara River, the world famous Mara River in Kenya. And what we've got is these zebra now waiting. I think they're waiting to cross. They came down here with a lot of enthusiasm. But we've got one of these crocodiles, these Tyrannosaurus Rex crocodiles, lying in this zebra's way. And I think if that, as soon as that crocodile moves, I think it's going to scare away the zebra. Needless to say, though, that my experience with river crossings is so low and so small that anything is bound to happen. Please treat whatever I say with a fair amount of skepticism. And we'll see if these crossings happen. In the foreground here, we have got I've forgotten my... sacred ibis. Holy smokes, I didn't know what I was going to say there for a bit. So, this is an Egyptian ibis, one of my favorite of all the ibises, even though I couldn't remember its name, which is not, becoming more and more frequent, to be quite honest with you. But just have a look at that fluffy tail that it has, the bald head or relatively bald head, and that quite robust beak. Male sacred ibises have probably, next to the scarlet ibis, one of the most robust of the ibis beaks, using it to probe into holes, very sensitive beak perturbance, and full of sensory organelle, and that will allow... Here we go, the zebra's coming down. What is it going to do when it gets to this log that is not a log? Oh, just saw that was a crocodile. Let's see what the zebra does. Why do you want to come across here so badly? What drives you? Why would you risk this? These are all questions I ask myself daily manning these cameras, to be quite honest with you. You don't quite know what is going on. That's quite a nice picture. Not that I know anything about picture making. No, zebra thought too much of it. Not going to chance it today. Let's go and see what else is lying around. There's some cars up in the right-hand side. We are going to wait here for you and basically call you back as soon as we've got some action. In the meantime, Taylor has found some lions for you.
Woohoo! As I said, woohoo, they all looked at me as if to say, what bird was that? Sorry, lions. You're not used to loud, Taylor, are you? Don't worry, you'll get familiar with me. But we have relocated on the lions that Scott had this morning. Well, the second group of lions that he had. It is these two young boys. And I'm trying to figure out how old I think they would be. They haven't really got big manes at all. So I would say they'd be probably between 2 and 3 years old. Somewhere 2.5, 3 years old. Somewhere around there. And then there's a larger male who I haven't really had a look at just yet. He's lying flat in the grass, blending in. And of course, a young lioness too. Now, if you're wondering how I know that she's a young lass, as you can see, those spots on her body are still quite prominent. She's looking a little bit leopard-like. No, she doesn't have rosettes. It's more like a cheetah, don't you think? But of course, she's not a cheetah. She is a lioness. And for those of you who are new and have never seen lions with spots on them before, you typically see it when they are born, and those spots help with camouflage, helps them to blend into the vegetation around them. They normally lose them, they normally fade away. However, I've seen adults with quite prominent spots on their bodies for their whole life. Sometimes they just don't go away all the time. And she's got a relatively pink nose too, so she's not particularly old either. She's probably around maybe the same age as the younger males that we just had a look at. And they seem to be resting up. I can't remember if they caught anything. I'm just trying to remember now. Jerry, oh no, though Jerry was also in bed, so she won't know. I only caught the end of the show, and I completely forgot to ask Scott if they're hunted or not. But that doesn't matter. They look full. They've got something in their bellies. So maybe they caught a young wildebeest in the last 24 hours or so, and they've gobbled that up between the four of them. That would have been a nice meal. They're not overly sort of fat, as you can see. They look very, very healthy, though all the lions out here at the moment look very, very healthy. It's okay, big boy. You're a little bit nervous of us. No, we haven't parked too close to them. But again, being a youngster, sometimes you need to just be a little bit careful. But they have been rolling around. They have been yawning. The wind has picked up quite a bit. It's gusting quite heavily down on the plains at the moment. So who knows? Maybe they're going to get up and go after something. I have looked around to see if there's any prey items, but unfortunately I haven't seen any prey species just yet. Not anywhere close by, but I would say about maybe 1.5 kilometers, maybe 2 k's away. There is some wildebeest and zebra, but quite far around. You won't be able to see them now over the horizon. So I suspect the only problem is they don't have the wind on their side. The wind is now gusting down towards them. So if they are planning on hunting, they might have to go all the way, do a big detour, go around, or head back this way from the direction that they came this morning. The drainage line where Scott lost them is not too far away from us, and go and find something else. So it's going to be a tough one for them. But again, maybe the wind changes direction, it starts swirling. We never really know what's going to happen out here. And there's some nasty dark clouds coming our way, so I also hope that we don't get any rain. But we'll hang tight. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay with these lions and see what they get up to. Hopefully we're going to get some action from them. I'm going to send you back across to Noel, and maybe the cats of the Sabi sand are going to be kind to her.
Welcome back, everybody. We're following up on these elephant tracks we had before we saw those kudu. We were just discussing now about the direction we're going to take. For me, it seems like they've gone into the drainage line, so we're just starting up. I just stopped briefly to listen. One of the things that you can do, doesn't matter where you are, you can be in the bush, you can be anywhere. If you can't hear, if you cup your hands behind your ears and then focus in the direction that you want to listen in, it magnifies everything into your ear. So, for instance, I've been wearing an earpiece for 10 years in this right-hand ear. I'm also a walking guide, so I have to do a lot of shooting practice, so my hearing on this side isn't as good, so I'm constantly using my left ear to cup and listen. So the tracks, yes, I'm guesstimating they went and drank water back at the dam maybe about an hour ago. I would guesstimate that there's maybe 10 to 12 individuals in the herd from the tracks that we're seeing. They walked down the road and then they headed in. We've had quite a bit of helicopter activity in the area. Just the sand park's busy with their patrols. That can sometimes affect, but we've picked up the tracks again now, just in front of the vehicle here. Elephants have a really interesting foot structure. Their bones aren't flat like ours in the foot. They sit up like this, and then there's a pad underneath and a pad cartilage like this. So when they walk, it fans out. Seb, I don't know if you can.
I can show them try quickly if you want.
Yeah, just try quickly there, Seb. You can see very, very flat with just a little bit of indent. And then we're going to link to Steph with a crocodile.
We have got a crocodile that is busy mouthing a dead wildebeest calf. I think one of them that died during the crossings a little bit earlier today. It could have been one that has been stashed, or even one that has been washed down from a crossing further up the river, but that basically is a wildebeest, and attached to that wildebeest is at least a 10-foot crocodile. There we go, there's the crocodile surfacing. And you'll notice now that crocodile's been trying to tear off chunks of this wildebeest, and the only crocodiles can't chew, they can't swivel their bottom jaws from side to side, and so the only way they can rip off pieces of meat is through leverage. And what they try and do is either turn off a piece of meat when other crocodiles are holding on, wait for it to putrefy, and then rip it off as it becomes quite soft and easy to dismember, or lodge it against a bank or a submerged stump, which is what I think this crocodile is trying to do. I think this crocodile is trying to submerge this young wildebeest calf against either the mud bank or a submerged stump, and then try and pull off a piece for it to eat. But every now and again, this crocodile does this spectacular, what they call a death roll, which basically is a couple of hundred or even a couple of 1,000 pounds of torque, on rotational torque on the snout of a crocodile. And you can just imagine the amount of force that can create. For all you scientists out there, feel free to try and let me know what the rotational force, or what the torque would be on the snout of a crocodile if the snout of a crocodile is about as big as a softball. So let's say at its biggest, the diameter of a football, and if that crocodile had to weigh 1,000 pounds, and I suppose you'd need to know how fast it could spin by, but I don't know, but quite fast, I suppose. John Michael, you wanted to know what the correct term is for a baby crocodile. I feel like I should know this, John Michael, but for the life of me, I cannot think of it right now. What would be a baby? Let me throw it right back out there to everybody out there. Please use that hashtag Safari Live and let me know what is the correct term for a baby crocodile. What crocodile? I feel like I should know what it is. Well, I'll let you do all my work for me, everyone out there. I'm going to keep on watching this crocodile and see what he gets up to. We're going to be sending you 3,500 miles south to Noel, who's got an elephant for you. I don't know.
All right, so just after we linked to Steph with his crocodile, which I believe was eating a wildebeest, that's incredible, we found our elephants. Here's the breeding herd that we talked about right now. We've got a female on the left with a youngster on the right-hand side. That youngster to me looks to be around about 3 years old. When you're judging the size of that baby elephant, you actually have to use the mum in conjunction. It's like humans. So my mom and dad were 5'10" and 5'6", and I'm 5'9", but my brothers are 6'3" because we have an uncle and a grandfather who are really tall. It's going to be similar with elephants. So you're going to get a smaller female like what you have on the left there, and then her baby is going to be in general relatively sized to her, and then it will also depend on the male's genes that came through. So this little one that's on the right hand side, it's just lifting up its leg a little bit. We were talking about the foot pattern. We're just trying to get you a visual so you can see those beautiful pads that are at the bottom. Shim, eating up some grass, getting all the dirt off there. So elephants, again, we were talking about before with the conservation side of it. In the past 10 years, we've lost about 60% of our elephant population. So being able to sit here with you all and watch them in the wild is pretty incredible. There you can see that foot very nicely. See the cracks on the bottom, very similar to the bottom of our hands and our feet. Looks like the dusty earth a little bit. If you ever get a chance to fly over, our viewers from the States, if you've ever flown over the Badlands, for instance, in South Dakota, that's similar to how it will look from the air. Or any viewers that we have from Southern Africa, the Delta area, Botswana, that side, when it's very dry and dusty, that reminds me of the bottom of elephants' feet. So with our herds of elephants that we have here, it's interesting. We were talking a little bit about the numbers and how some areas are overpopulated and some areas are underpopulated. Our area in general is known to have an overpopulation, same as the northeastern side of Botswana that we mentioned with Chobe, but then up where Steph and Taylor and everybody is with our film crew up in East Africa, up in the Mara is starting to see a huge decrease in elephant populations due to loss of habitat and human encroachment and poaching issues as well. Elephants are, again, they're a super important part of the ecosystem. From what you can see here, they're just slowly eating, slowly feeding, very relaxed, but they're the architects of the bush. If you ever get a chance, there was a really wonderful program that came out about, I want to say 6 years ago, about Africa and how Africa was formed and the wildlife on Africa. It's called Africa. It was done by the BBC. It's not a David Attenborough production, but it is off the BBC, and they show this really great graph of how elephants, when they're in their natural numbers, which should be in the millions across the continent, they take forests back into grasslands, and then slowly the grasslands move back into forests, and they're the ones that dictate how how the vegetation looks for us to go now on game drive with. So what I want to do is I just want to back up a bit, and I want to go around. This female back here has a really nice youngster. We're just going to reverse. Carry on that side. All right, so elephants on foot and in a vehicle are part of my favorite, and I'm part of the Big Five. So Mandy, that's a really excellent question, asking how long will a calf nurse from its mom. So something that's really interesting to point out with this question is if you go in and you Google or you read a book, you're going to hear that they nurse for about 24 months. Now in my experience, I've seen that, the 24 months, but I've seen them nursing for 3 years, proper nursing. And then I've even seen, so after a female elephant has her first calf, she will always have heavy breasts. She will always be lactating. After that, and I've seen a 5-year-old calf with its mom heavily lactating, about to give birth shortly with her new calf, busy trying to get a little bit, and the mom will let her or him but it's not necessarily something that she wants. So she'll let him nurse a little bit, and then she pushes him away because he's not necessarily really supposed to be doing that. Great question. So I'm just going to angle us over to the right-hand side here, and then we're going to focus in on the herd a little bit. Just let that female. Seb, when we stop, I'm going to stop here actually. If you can just focus in on that temporal gland of that female. Sorry, I'm going to move the car. Something that I've noticed with my guests from time to time is that they are very concerned about this temporal gland based from these elephants where it's leaking. And there's a lot of thought behind that and a lot of conjecture around it. Basically, what most people think is that the secretion that's right behind the eye has a lot to do with them being super angry. And actually, it has more to do with them having an emotional state. So that emotional state can be happy, it can be angry, it can be stressed, any emotional state. Hers is very, very thin down the side there. She is going to turn her head shortly. She's just busy eating some grass, and you'll see it a little bit better. Now, the anger part comes from when the big male elephants go through muss, and then basically their hormone levels are up and down, up and down. I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I'm sleeping. And so their temporal fluid is a lot more intense than you would see with the females that we're happily eating now. Not stressed at all. Very, very relaxed tail, as you can see, swinging. Very relaxed ears. The whole body's relaxed. She's actually looking quite pregnant. They're talking about Mandy's question with the nursing. She's looking heavily pregnant. So they're pregnant for about 22 months. And I've actually read that some of the babies can weigh up to about 120 kilograms. So you're looking at about 250 pounds. I mean, that's a large baby you're carrying around for 2 years. There, you can see that bulge there. All right, we are going to head back to Taylor with her sleepy lions.
We're still with our lions, and they're up and down. I'm not convinced that they're going to get up and start moving just yet. Remember, it's very, very windy out here. You can see how the grass is moving quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if you can hear the wind as well. It's so I think they're just trying to scan around, see if there's anything potentially coming towards them. Maybe they're getting scents of the wildebeest that are just at the base of the escarpment. They could be blowing down this way, and it could be sort of enticing them slightly. But they're still up and down from their cat nap, which is normal for lions. Every now and then they start to groom themselves, but I reckon that they'll be down for just a little bit longer. But we'll stay with them because, who knows, maybe a warthog comes darting through the long grass. There are a couple of them around. That would, of course, will instigate a chase with these cats. Or maybe someone else, a little oribi. Who knows what antelope are lurking in this long grass and could be potential meals for these lions. And because they are so young, they're not very, very old. I haven't been able to really have a look at the other male. He looks much older than the others, though. And I reckon that they'd be quite, well, eager to chase really anything. I know what young cats are like. Sometimes they I can't find my words today. I think the wind has blown them all the way. What am I trying to say? Let me try. That's okay. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that they've got eager young minds, and they're very curious and very excited by many things out here. But let's hope that a warthog does appear. But they're lovely cats, and I'm so excited to learn the dynamics of the lions around here. I haven't really got any idea which pride this could be. I don't think Scott mentioned that he knew which pride it was either, but that doesn't really matter. We'll just take any lions that we can get and try and figure it out around here. But there seem to be quite a few cats. This young boy on the far left, he's the one that got up and moved away. He hasn't really put his head down at all. Though his eye's looking a little bit heavy now, but he's still scanning about. And remember, those wildebeest, they do come back and in this direction. Those herds have moved off, though, from where they were this morning. So they're going to have to go and find them. See, they're very jumpy. Why are you so jumpy? They look at us and then they look away from them. They look around. So they keep looking back towards the escarpment. So I think they may be smelling those wildebeest. They're, like I said, they're far. I reckon there's a couple of thousand on the base of the escarpment, and that's maybe a bit further away than the others that are just over the horizon, which you can't see. And they might come this way too. We don't know. Still a bit early, but they normally get on the move. What's the time now? Probably in the next 40 minutes, so maybe an hour, they'll start heading in this direction. But we'll stay here for a little bit longer. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes or so with these cats. And if they sort of just up and down continuously, then we might go around. The others can't be too far away from us. Scott sent me a pin, basically, where he had them. And it's pretty close to where we are now, actually. So if we actually have a look down this side, we're going to be heading a little bit further back towards sort of the north. Just over the other side of the drainage line. We'll go all the way down there. I reckon we'll maybe have to go a mile, maybe a mile and a half. And maybe we will find those cats. I didn't quite hear who I was supposed to link to. It's a little bit windy, but we're going to go back across to the studio now where Steph is waiting. He's manning the cameras. I wonder what's lurking about in the water or in the trees.
I'm waiting with the tree. Not that a tree is going to be going anywhere, but I'm waiting for something to come into the tree, to be honest with you. This is a tree close to where we have the mountain cam view. And let me just show you where the tree is. It's over there. It is a fairly large tree. I have no idea what tree it is. It's just a big one. It looks like a fig tree of some sorts. And it's just on the one side of our camp. But what I've got the camera here for is because this tree really enjoys the attention of groups of Ross's Turako that come into the camp and basically enjoy themselves in the tree. And I'm waiting really badly. What do I say? I'm waiting in anticipation, patiently, to show you what a Ross's Turako actually is in real life. If I could show you here, if we could go through to my studio cam and I'll show you what it is. There we go, the bird with the yellow beak. Sorry, just try and get it into focus for you. The bird with the yellow beak is the Ross's Turako. And although that is probably the worst shot of a Ross's Turako I could possibly show you, sorry, we'll send you back over to the main north camera where we've got a hippo swimming in some rivers for you. Have a look at this. This river is shallow all over the place. And in this particular place, there's no difference. But right in the middle of a rapid is this hippopotamus that is busy swimming in these rapids. Now, while this hippo comes up in a little bit, it will give me a chance to say thank you to Noel and John for your answers on what a baby crocodile is, for helping me. It is, of course, a hatchling, which is quite embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. But have a look at this hippo, just busy swimming in the river. So thank you very much to Danelle and John for those answers. It just gives you an idea of the holes inside this river. So for whatever reason, there's a hole just on the one side of these rapids, and this hippo is having a swim. Who knows if it feels nice on their skin, perhaps? Look at this guy. He's having a fun time. I think it's pretty cool. Now, hippo, very similar to dolphins and whales, can actually hear through their bottom jaw. So they can actually hear sounds. Not only does that hippo's very distinctive laugh carry far above ground and through the air, but it also carries through the water. And hippo have been known, well, they are known, to be able to hear not only with their ears, but also with their jawbones. And that leads me to tell you that hippos' common ancestor is something like a dugong or a manatee. All those hippo, dugongs, and manatees belong to a group of animals called the Hippomorpha, who share a common ancestor with a whale. And of course, we all know that whales, or dolphins more than whales really, but they use sound to communicate with one another and for prey location. And the fact that a hippo can therefore hear through its bottom jaw is no surprise. So what we're going to do while I watch this hippo taking a bath is carry on waiting for all of these zebra to come down to this crossing, and we're going to send you back down south to Noel.
Hello, welcome back. We've decided to leave our elephants for now. They're going off. The visual was dissipating. We're going to see if maybe we can find some cats. We've got a question from 5-year-old Tula Ann. Tula Ann is wondering, do elephants ever lie down, to sleep during the day? It's a really excellent question. So Tula Ann, that little one we were watching that I said was roughly about 3 years old, when they're tired, they'll definitely lie down. Their bodies it takes a while to get up to the stamina that the adults have. But it's not necessarily during the day, it can also be at night. Elephants are very vigorous feeders. They eat constantly because their metabolism doesn't work very well, so they're constantly putting food into their bodies. So they need to be moving to put that food into their bodies. And so they'll only rest every now and then. They don't sleep like we do. We've actually got some more Ellies coming up in the front. We'll go and have a look now, and there's some more little ones we can have a peek at. This herd's a little bit larger than I was thinking. We're probably looking at about 20 elephants in total, just under. And then what you'll see with the adult elephants is a lot of them will just stand and rest and rest their head. If it's a big male, he'll take his tusks and sometimes put them on something or put his trunk on his tusks and rest like that. All right, we're just going to pull forward a little bit, and then we're going to get a nice view of multiple youngsters. Similar in age to the other young one we were seeing just now. There's an even tinier one though. I'm just going to angle the car as best as I can. And there we go. So these two youngsters here, you're looking at a year, if not a little bit younger. There we go. One's coming to investigate us. So take care. Excellent question about elephants. Do elephants shed skin on a periodic basis? So elephants are mammals. I know that it looks like these elephants have really wrinkly skin that looks like it might need to slough off. But no, their skin's very much like ours. We don't shed our skin. Look, you get skin follicles that come off, so I guess that's going to happen with Ellies. But it's mostly reptiles that will shed their skin, something like a snake or a lizard. Those little ones. Sorry, baby elephants are one of my favorite things to watch. They just make you laugh. It takes them about 2 years to learn how to use their trunks, so they're not very adept at using them, and they also are quite playful. So right now they're busy trying to figure out how to eat what mom eats and what their aunties and cousins and older siblings eat, and then they'll get bored of what they're doing and start wrestling with each other. Let's just take a minute. We'll sit and watch them quietly, listen to the sounds of the bush. Sinak, that's a really good question. Sinak's asking, why do elephants uproot trees? So elephants, like we talked about earlier, need to constantly be eating. They're also the architects of the bush, like we discussed. But they're also extremely intelligent, so they're not going to decimate a whole area for their food source. Also, the food sources that they eat are not always available at every single time of year. So what you're getting when they're uprooting trees is it's the time of year where a lot of the trees that have lost their leaves during a small period during the dry season or winter season, and all of the nutrients have gone into those roots, and so they're uprooting the trees to get to the nutrient base, which is inside those roots. They also sometimes uproot smaller trees that have tubers that are underneath them, not from the tree but from other plants, to eat those tubers, like a potato. Sorry. So you saw those two little ones wrestling. Now this one's trying to figure out, he wants to eat that tree because the elephant to its right, the older either cousin or sibling, is eating near that tree. Now he's annoyed with the tree, so he's going to push back because he can't get to the leaves. Sorry, it's hysterical every time. The sweetest, Megan. So there's a bird just to the left and up that's sitting on the perch just, Seb, if you go left like a meter. You see where I'm looking, that throat on.
Eyes on it first.
No worries. So where the little one is, go left and then up, just sitting there, it looks like above the back. So we've got a lilac-breasted roller that's sitting there. We're just trying to get it on camera for you. Now, something that's interesting about what this roller is doing is lilac-breasted rollers and fork-tailed drongos. We had one earlier, but I'm not seeing one now. When there's a big bushfire, when the fire's coming through, insects are obviously trying to get away from... Oop, there it goes down. Beautiful colors. There's an insect it's finding. Come back up. And he's just landed there. Perfect. Thanks, Seb. They're some of the first. They'll go to the front line of where this fire is to catch these half-burned insects. So when these elephants are moving around and feeding like what they're doing, they're dislodging insects. So fork-tailed drongos are known to do this. And then this throat, this lilac-breasted roller is also doing a very similar thing. He's utilizing it. It's called mutualism. It's basically where the roller benefits and the elephant's not harmed in any way. It's a type of symbiosis. So we talked earlier about Byron taking over his birds. One thing that Byron doesn't have yet is a kukul. And in the background, I could hear a kukul, a Burchell's kukul, also known as the rain bird. When the barometric pressure drops, you can hear boop, 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 boop. And we were talking today about whether or not it'll rain, maybe this afternoon, or this evening rather. All right, everyone, we're going to link you back to Steph with his crocodile on the river cam.
We are definitely still with this crocodile, and they've managed to dismember the young wildebeest calf. Not much left of it, I'm afraid. They've swallowed it in a couple of large chunks, but what it has done is it's attracted a lot of attention from other crocodiles around. And that's what normally happens, is that any sort of splashing and commotion attracts attention from other crocodiles. And as soon as you have one or two or more crocodiles in the area, and then of course as soon as you have any blood in the water, then the crocodiles have an epic fight about this. Now, I'm hoping that it's not completely finished, to be honest. I really, really want to show you what these crocodiles are doing. I'm busy having a look and scanning around and seeing exactly what is going on over here. They tend to take things quite easily, these crocs. I must be honest with you. They don't, not much rush in their lives. Sumant, you've asked me if crocodiles attack anything, or do they, what do they attack everything? Yes, they will attack anything. Anything that they think that they can catch and kill and overpower, they will tackle. And I have seen pictures of crocodiles even taking on elephant and grabbing their trunks under the water, but I haven't seen that with my own eyes, to be honest with you. The biggest thing that I've seen these crocodiles take is a full-grown wildebeest and a full-grown zebra, which is substantial. You're looking at 500 pounds of animal there without even blinking an eye. And some of these crocodiles are far, far bigger than that. I watched a crocodile here in this particular pond dive on top of a zebra, a full-grown zebra, and he absolutely swamped the zebra. Now we've got a crocodile coming in. Okay, that's what we want to see. There's got some meat there, obviously. Crocodiles come out of the water to swallow because they haven't got an epiglottis. There's still the leg of this wildebeest. There we go. They're spinning around. Awesome. That is how they dismember the carcasses. And we've got a couple of crocodiles here now. And let's see what type of fight goes on. Lots of splashing as they spin around. There we go, coming out and gulping down some of this wildebeest carcass. Obviously, the softer parts go first. The insides, intestines, and then they will start to dismember the larger joints and swallow them down whole. And crocodiles have got a very strong tummy acid. I don't think it's much stronger than ours. I think it's a slightly lower pH, but they are able to digest bone and horn and hair and everything. And just look at that. Isn't that the most terrifying thing that you could ever imagine happening to you? Being devoured by one of these. As I mentioned to you, that although at times they can actually be very active feeders and very active predators, for the most part they're actually super considerate about one another. They're deeply respectful for large crocodiles. They don't care much for younger crocodiles or smaller crocodiles. And what's happening there. He's got some movement underneath the water again. Just get the more spinning. Now, Bree, you wanted to know if crocodiles when they come from underneath the water, do they stun their prey? Here comes a big guy now. There's going to be some excitement here. Bree, good question. I've only seen crocodiles attack from the water, attack from straight up, and attack basically out of the water onto the bank, and from next to and in front of. This big crocodile's coming. Look at this now. Lots of rolling around. So, Bree, just to finish that, while we're busy looking at this, no, I don't think they stun their prey so much as just jump on top of it. Oh, look at this now. Big crocodiles coming in. Now, he will dominate the kill. Look at that. Turns it away, swallows it almost whole. Everything else, all the smaller crocodiles coming in for some morsels now, trying to get a little bit. All the females as well. Big crocodile just dominates it. And thank you very much. I'll have the rest of your dinner. One just swallowing a little bit extra. Uncontested, as you can see. Well, I say that and then have a look at what happens here. Tell you, it's the same thing I should never think. How terrifying is that? Not much left of this wildebeest. Let's see what happens over here. As you can see, swimming with their tails, but also with their legs in this part. Here we go. And what we might see here is this big guy. How big do you think that is? That's a wildebeest calf, which is about as big as a German shepherd, a large German shepherd. And Bobby, you wanted to know if, well, you've made a comment, wow, will crocodiles fight each other over food? Absolutely. The youngsters here, they'll try and get a mouthful while they can, while the jaws of this big guy are full. But you just imagine that snapping, there we go, fighting some more. The big guy trying to keep everyone away from his kill. It's his food, no one else's. Come on, guys. Don't give up that easily. I mean, his mouth is full. All his teeth are busy. Here comes some more crocodiles. This might make it even more interesting. Let's see what goes on here. So the big guy is now off to the right-hand side. He's under the water. These two may have a bit of a scrap of something that they're hanging on to. Let's see what happens over here. Now, what they quite often do is hold on to a piece of meat, and then you get more and more and more of them coming in, and eventually one will try and flip off a piece and swallow it. Sinak, you wanted to know if there's any dominance amongst crocodiles. Sinak, absolutely. The biggest crocodile gets everything that he wants, but there are lots of big crocodiles in a pool, and quite often you'll find that there's a dominance display that goes on. I find it more posturing than anything else. But you will find big crocodiles posturing next to other crocodiles. And I think that it's very subtle. I actually think that we don't know enough about crocodiles' language, to be honest with you. It's one of the things that I'm looking forward to most about these whoa, that was a fish. So the feeding has created bits and pieces of food in the water. And that was one fish jumping away from either another predator underneath the water, or it's just getting very excited. What's going on here? Okay, we've got a hippo. We've got a crocodile angling across the water. What's going on? What have we got here? Crocodile making his way, investigating something. What is this? Oh, it's a crocodile carrying the rest of that carcass. So now coming in. Big crocodile that. Look how fast they can swim. Under the water. Let's see if this big crocodile now picks up speed or turns away. What are you going to do? Carrying his prize away. Can I have a look at how fast this water is actually flowing? This is on the inside curve of the river, where the velocity of the water should actually be much lower than on the outside curve, and you can see that wake that the crocodile is making. Now, in all the adventure stories that I ever read as a kid, and whenever there was a crocodile chasing somebody, they always talked about this wake that a crocodile makes just before it attacks a person. Let's see what's going on over here. Still fighting. Excuse me, does my camera work? Much to Genre's horror at what's going on right here. No, it looked like he got away. No, they're both hanging on to this particular piece now. Now trying to walk it out. onto the opposite bank. Yep, they're both there. Now, what's going to happen when they get into the shallows? What are we going to see here? Some mouse birds. Massive crocodile is snapping at each other. Are you going to spin? Nope. Losing, the smaller one losing its temper. Larger one trying to angle it away. Coming in, some big crocodiles now coming in. Looking like another huge fight going on. We might see some spinning over the top. Wow. Now, no wonder these crocodiles, he's got the whole wildebeest in his face. That's amazing. No wonder these crocodiles look like their jaws are, or their faces sometimes are so scarified. He was spraying mud up everywhere. Shame, that wildebeest is having a bad day. But that is just part of it. These crocodiles also need to eat, obviously, and if these wildebeests were left to breed without any of this type of predation on them, then there wouldn't be any grass left and there wouldn't be any bush left for us to maintain, basically. And so this is all just the circle of life. Don't forget, I'm not making fun of it. This is all just part of it. Another crocodile now coming in, another monster of a crocodile into the shallows, ripping at each other. Now, I see these two crocodiles are pretty much the same size, the one on the right and the one on the left, both these green-headed monsters. I thought there was just one green-headed monster here, but it looks like there's two or possibly even three. Okay, now we've got 4 crocodiles, their faces next to each other. Let's see what they do. Let's see how aggressive they will get with one another. Oh, man, that is terrifying. So obviously the smaller one there is a female. She's coming in. Oh, there doesn't seem to be much aggression towards her. There's no doubt in my mind that these big crocodiles, well, here comes another green-headed monster. Well, there goes my theory about there only being one massive green-headed crocodile in this pond. They all get this algae growth on them as they get a little bit older. Another crocodile coming in. And that is exactly what happens, is another crocodile coming in. How many crocodiles have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crocodiles that we can see. All the gigantic river monsters. These are all crocodiles way over 10 feet, possibly even close to 2,000 pounds each. Oh, this is insane. Now, Mandy, you wanted to know if crocs keep a stash of food underwater. Mandy, yes, in a way. Well, look at the size of that crocodile on the left-hand side. In a way, yes, Mandy. Crocodiles really only enjoy eating. Here we got. Now the feeding frenzy starts. Each of these trying to get a piece of this wildebeest, snapping it down, putting their head out of the water so that they don't gulp too much water and sand and mud into their bellies. Going back into the fray, biting into some meat, spinning around, getting a piece off, and then trying to swallow it. Look at that. Oh, there's the head on the left-hand side. Crocodile's got his prize. Turns away, he's managed to dismember it. Now he'll try and make a getaway with everything else trying to get it from him. Just look at the size of this guy. No, younger one can't catch him. Into the deeper water. Try and head him off over there. Yo. Ali, you wanted to know if baby crocodiles fight with each other? Absolutely, Ali. Shame, up until a point, up until crocodiles are probably over about 3 or 4 feet, there is, excuse me, that was just my excitement. Up until crocodiles get to about 3 or 4 feet, they actually battle to stay not being eaten by something. Lots and lots of baby crocodiles get eaten, not only by their own kind, but also by almost every other aquatic predator that you find out here. And it is a bit of a pity. But once they get over a certain size, they do not prey on one another anymore. But it may just be the fact that they are the competition amongst them, and if they do get injured by one another, it's intraspecific competition rather than cannibalism. Wow, that was one of the most exciting feeding frenzies that I've seen in a long time, and I'm glad that we could share it with you. Anyway, back to Noel, who's actually on an interview drive, and we need to see what she's got up her sleeve for us.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Juma. We're here still with our herd of Ellies, focusing in on a little youngster. We had a question from Eric the poet. He asked if in my experience I've ever experienced elephants emitting any emotion in any way. Look, I think it's really important, a couple of things. One, I think it's really important to remember that all mammals have some form of emotion, but the way that we as humans function emotionally is not the same way that other mammals are going to function emotionally. I'm not saying that it's not there, because in my experience, I have seen emotion come through. So the story that comes to mind, Eric, is actually one. I was working in Namibia. I was training some guides, and there was a scenario on one of the training drives where this guide parked with a young male elephant, and the young male elephant was uncomfortable with the way that how close the vehicle was, and this elephant reared back on its legs and then went down onto its wrist, because you know elephants don't have 4 legs. Hey, they've got 2 arms and 2 legs. We'll have a look just now. If Seb pens down a little bit, you can see in the front on this little one here, the joint in the front is at the back, like your elbow, and then when they put down, you've got the wrist, and then if you go just to the back there, Seb, just a little bit to the left, thanks so much, you can see there's the knee and then the ankle. So he reared up onto his legs and then got down onto his wrist and started tusking the ground, and basically this is him emitting an emotion where he's so frustrated, he's so angry that this vehicle is doing what it's doing and it's parked where it's parked, but he knows he's not supposed to attack the vehicle because that's bad, but he just has to let this out. It was a really interesting moment, and this went on for a bit, and then he turned around in a circle and then ran off. I've also had personal experience with elephants on foot with different types of encounter that give off some emotion. But that being said, I don't think that we as humans ourselves are intelligent enough to understand our own emotions, so putting those emotions onto other mammal species can be a bit tricky. You'll notice that we've got about a 4 or 5-year-old just here, with a 1-ish, 2-ish-year-old at the back there, and then a teenager, possibly into the late teens, early 20s. There's another younger one coming through, and the 3 youngsters are all busy trying to figure out with their trunks how to go up into the tree to get the leaves, and the older elephant is busy getting the grass. There's still a little bit of nutrient left in the roots of the grass, in the ribosomes there, so digging it up, using their, technically what would be a hand, and then wiping off the dirt and then eating it. And the little ones are busy smelling leaf by leaf by leaf. I'm just gonna stay quiet for a little bit now. We've got one Ellie that's behind us, and the ones on the left are eating quite nicely, so we're just gonna listen for a bit. You can hear them pulling up that grass and swishing it, getting all the soil off. I did say dirt. There's my American coming out. In South Africa, we say soil. In America, we say dirt. Seb, if you wouldn't mind just going over that youngster, there's a little black bird that's there. Perfect, thanks. So earlier we talked about that lilac-breasted roller, doing the mutualism, coming up and accessing the insects that are brought up by the elephants walking and digging up the grass. This is the fork-tailed drongo, and he's doing the same thing. Fork-tailed drongos are amazing birds. So they have a repertoire of sounds where they mimic other bird calls, but they'll also mimic things like a mongoose alarm call. So let's say a banded mongoose catches a scorpion. It'll mimic the alarm call. They do this a lot with meerkats in the Kalahari and Central Kalahari up in Botswana and northwestern South Africa. And they'll mimic the alarm call so that the mongoose or meerkat drops the scorpion and then dives underground, and then the fork-tailed drongo goes and picks it up and eats it for himself. And then the mimicking also has to do with the more mimics it has, the more likely it is to get ladies. Everything in the bush is about finding ladies and surviving after that. Debbie from Vancouver has just asked a brilliant question. Have I ever seen an elephant birth? No, personally, Debbie, I haven't. It's on my list that sometimes is shorter, sometimes is longer, of things I really desperately want to see in the wild. I've seen mating elephants, but not birthing. They tend to be a little bit more secretive about it. We had that very pregnant female earlier in the show I'm guessing she's going to drop in like a week or two. And the other females will go and they'll sort of flatten the grass around her and then lay her down. They act like midwives to help birth. There was an amazing video that was taken by a guest that was inside the Kruger National Park, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago, where they were standing watching one of the rivers and the elephants came into the river and went in, and this female gave birth in the water like a water birth, like humans would do. And the other females came around her and picked up the baby and helped it to breathe while the mom went off and just rested a little bit. So that's definitely top of my list. I'd give my eye teeth to see something like that. Megan, just confirm that's Odie. Perfect, thanks. So Odie, great question. What are elephants called, baby elephants? Is it just calf or anything else? Yeah, they're just a calf. So basically, I'm sure a lot of you that have followed the show have seen Nyala before. So a Nyala male is a bull, a Nyala female is a ewe, and that has to do with the size. So an Impala male will be a ram. Sorry, I'm just going to stop and check in. See how he's smelling us. So we've been sitting here long enough. He's gotten the gumption up to come just a little bit closer. No, can't handle it. See the stiff ears, see the stiff tail. He'll relax just sorry, hysterical. She might go back and do it again. So when you're getting something that's Nyala, female, and smaller, of any of the mammals we'll see out here on Safari Live, you're going to call it a ram and a ewe, and the baby will be a lamb. Anything that's Nyala, bull, and bigger, and this includes buffalo and wildebeest, and our elephant is going to be a bull and a cow, and then the baby will be a calf. This little one here that came up quite close to the vehicle is still keeping a bit of an eye on us. Relaxed a bit, the tail is relaxed, the ears are relaxed. Should turn every now and then and have a look just to make sure that we're not doing anything that will upset her little apple cart. Part of the reason why she did what she did is that her space, her personal bubble is a lot larger than an adult elephant. So she hasn't quite come to terms with the vehicle and with us as humans. We're very strange. We've got predator vision that sits in front like a lion or a leopard, whereas prey species have it more on the side of the head like she does. We've got funny voices, we have funny smells. I mean, think about this animal with such an acute sense of smell, and we've got all of the colognes and shampoos and body lotions that we're wearing, so it's a sensory overload. So she needs just a little bit more space than an adult who's come to terms with how our car sounds, what it looks like, who we are, what's the camera doing. All right, everybody, we're going to link back to Taylor with her very lazy lions.
That's exactly what they are, Noel. And I hope that you're enjoying yourself all the way down south. And Byron isn't giving you too much hassle. If he is, hit him with a big stick. He doesn't like sticks very much. I'm just teasing, of course. So we found the other ladies that Scott first had this morning. But as you can see, they're not really doing too much now, are they? They're flat. And Byron, I know, speaking of Byron, he hates it when we say flat cats, so we do it to annoy him most of the time. But of course, at any moment, they could get up and start hunting. However, I've done a big scan around, done a 360-degree quick scan, and there is no prey around here either. So obviously, from their activities last night, the herds have worked out that they're in this area and they've moved off. But that's not to say that they're going to come back this way again. And that's the joy of course, coming out on a safari, is that you never know what happens. So we will sit here for a bit. We sit here for about maybe 20 minutes or so, see if we get any action. The only thing we've seen so far is that they've popped their heads up and stared at us, and now they're quite comfortable with us, and they've gone back to sleep. But they're not far apart from each other. I would say they're between the two groups of lions that we've seen this afternoon, they're about a mile apart. They're just on the other side of the drainage line. So you actually might be able to see there's a green row of trees, not trees, small shrubs, just in the distance, about, yes, there. See, that's where the lugger, the drainage line is, down over there. And those lines are probably a little bit further up, a little bit further to the west of where we are now. They're not far, but unfortunately we can't just drive straight there. We have to go the scenic way around, which is not bad, of course. But like I said, we'll hang around for a little bit and we'll see what happens. And we might go back to the others who seem to be roading around a little bit more. But off we go into James's car, and it seems as though he's got a topi.
Yes, there is a topi, there's also me, and there are also two cheetah over there. And what we've done is try and get into a position where we are going to be behind the prey if they get up and have a go. But now we've had to come quite a long way away from the cheetah in order to get into this position, and now we can't see them anymore. So I'm just scouring the land to see if we can't pick them up. We had a little mini lion hunt while you were away. As we arrived here, suddenly lions exploded from somewhere and chased a wildebeest. They didn't catch it, but before we could even react, really, it was all very exciting, so exciting. Now, one of the problems, of course, with having the branding that we do on this vehicle is that people assume that I'm some form of expert, and so they start to follow where I go, because we have, of course, the red square, at least the yellow square. And I suspect that's why this fellow is now in reverse across the front of our picture. He thinks I know something that he doesn't, little does he. Alright, let's go a little bit forward, everybody. I promise there are cheetah there. I have seen them with my own two peepers. I wonder if they haven't started moving. I wanted to try and get around the Thompson's gazelles there, but I really think we won't have any chance at all of seeing them then. And what we don't want to be is where all those cars are, because they're just hoping for a view. We're hoping for a hunt. So we need to be in a very different position from the one that they're in. Let's try now, Darby. I think they've moved. Oh no, there they are. Okay. So yeah, just keep going right and stop. There they are. You see them there? Up a bit, just in front of that car. There we go. That's one there. And just a little bit to the right, you get the other one as well. There they are. Phew. Two lady cheetahs. And I don't think they're very full. They look fairly hungry. It's good news. Now most of these punters, of course, will have to go home fairly soon. Right. At night. And David and I will once again be out all night. And we'll sit with these chaps for as long as we possibly can. Wonderful stuff. Now, there's some while we wait, there's not something you see every day. There seems to be a hippo in the clearing over there. Also enjoying the cheetah sighting. And just if you are wondering about the vehicles, everybody, they are, of course, tourists that come from the various camps around the Masai Mara, all of them equally have a right to be where we are, and all of them have paid top dollar to come and enjoy one of the world's most, shall I say it again, David? What am I going to say? No, iconic wildlife areas. Alright, so we had our lion sighting over there. We'll wait and see the lions come that way. The wildebeest ran off that way. We're going to wait and see what the cheetah do here. In the meantime, Steph, I believe, has got something that's doing a little fishing.
How is that crazy sighting of James's? It's insane. I do have something fishing. This is a yellow-billed stork, and since we see these characters quite often on these rivers, I've had to do a bit of research, and I just wanted to tell you something very, very interesting about this method of fishing. Now, this bird is obviously combing through the water and using its bill as a fishing stick to try and, what I originally thought of was just a super sensitive beak, able to determine at touch what it is that it's busy feeling. But in actual fact, the yellow-billed stork has got these tiny little corpuscles on the tips of the beak called Herbst corpuscles. And Herbst corpuscles can taste and touch. Isn't that incredible? So the end of a beak can taste and touch like our tongue can. So at a briefest touch in the water, a bird will know whether what it's feeling is a piece of riverweed, a stone, or a tasty morsel to gobble down. Isn't that incredible? So Herbst corpuscles in the tips of the yellow-billed stork's beak are able to taste and touch. I find that fascinating. It's actually quite an amazing bird to watch this. I find their faces to be a little bit distressing, that haircut that they've got where their feathers stop. I don't quite know what to call it. Weird is what I'd like to say. But I hope that this bird catches a fish for us. Obviously, the success of the bird is in its ability to use the beak in an area where it's most likely to catch prey. You see it combing through the water there. That is fascinating. Ali, hippos do not eat fish from the river. Your question was, do hippos ever eat fish in the river? They do not. They're strictly vegetarian. And on vegetarian versus carnivore, could we go to Main South, please? Because our male lion is awake. We've been keeping one of our cameras on Main South camera, and there we go. He's just lifted up his head for the first time this afternoon. As you can see, the sun has come out. It's been an amazing afternoon, really. We've had a lot of rainstorms here. We've now got a beautiful sunset behind us, and some storms further out to the western side of the Masai Mara. This lion is just busy lying on the edge of the Mara River. Ooh, shaky camera work of mine today. Obviously the wind is a little bit stronger than what I'm anticipating. And this male lion, you can see that he's in very good condition. Now, how I tell if a male lion is in good condition or not is not, funnily enough, by looking at the face, but by looking at the pelvis bone. So if you go from the base of this lion's tail to the first shadow that you get, it's a small depression. That is where his pelvis ends, and that is where male lion who have been defending territories quite often show scars. So for those of you who are going to be watching these shows and this show for long periods yet to come, always look at the base of at the pelvis of a male lion. Quite often, if he's been defending territory or if he's had a rough life, they will carry quite bad scarification in that area at the back on their lower back in their pelvis. And the reason for that is that a male lion killing bite is a cripple to the pelvis, which they get right by biting the base of the spine there, or a bite onto the forehead, where their canines can actually go straight through the skull and obviously kill almost instantaneously a lion. Fighting face to face, where they got their claws in the way, they got their teeth in the way, very often it's just more noise and more shouting than anything else. But as soon as the lion turns his face, before this goes away, Noel's got something very cute to show you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're busy looking at some tree squirrels. There's a little baby just there that Seb's focused in on, and then if we go down a little bit the tree, there's a mum, or there was a mum and her other youngster that were there busy grooming themselves or grooming each other. So I just need to make a correction from earlier. I was talking about the fork-tailed drongo and the lilac-breasted roller, and I said mutualism. I didn't mean that. I meant commensalism. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. So there's the correction for you. So mutualism is where they both benefit, and commensalism is where one benefits and the other's not harmed. So tree squirrels, oh shit, look, grabbing the flowers there, and a little bit of leaves. They're going to bring that in. They'll nest in this tree. Cat sightings in our area, so we're going to try our best to find some cats. Shame, super cute. Have a little scratch there. All right, let's carry on and see what we can find. I've lived in Africa for just under 15 years now, but I grew up in New Hampshire, in a very tiny town in New Hampshire with lots of woods and moose and bears. And yeah, I've been in South Africa but just about 12 years now, on and off. Male impala as we're driving ahead. So this male would be a ram. As we discussed earlier, he's in a little bachelor group. You can see all the other males. He's actually, if you have a look at any of these males that are just along here, I want you to notice something. I want you to notice about how dark that they look. Do you see that? Darker than usual. When birds and mammals with fur get cold, they do something called piloerection, where they lift up all their fur to help the hot air circulate closer to the body. We do the same thing when we get scared or cold. The hair on our arms or the back of the neck pops up. You can actually see it really nicely there. So he's trying to warm up. So again, it was a cloudy, overcast day. It's going to be sunset not too far away from now. The temperature has dropped quite a bit, so he's a little bit chilly. Looking nice and healthy. Impala are one of the most beautiful antelopes, even though we see them everywhere. One of the most beautiful antelopes, but one of the most hardest antelopes to photograph. Every time they pick their head up and the light hits their eye perfectly, and you go to take your photograph, they move and show you their bum. Or now, with our camera, just bum work. All right, cats. So, one of my favorite cats to track is a lion. I love lions, and especially walking on foot, lions. In a vehicle, it's leopard. And this overcast weather that we've been talking about today is really, really, really good for leopard movement. So we're going to bumble around and see if we can pick up anything. And with a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, we should do well. Debbie, excellent question. Debbie from Vancouver. So you're asking, with the way that the bush looks right now, is the drought over? So Debbie, something that's really important to remember is we're in the southern hemisphere. Where you're from is in the northern hemisphere. So we're actually going through our winter time right now, which is our dry season. So the drought last year is definitely over. This is the way the bush looks now. There's nothing wrong with what's happening here. What is interesting to remember is that the rains that we did get during our past summer, during our past wet season, or rainy season, in a lot of areas were not enough to fill up the water tables as high as we needed. So we're coming into summer now. We did have a little bit of rain the other day, so we are hoping for a good rainy season, but we need a good 600 to 1,000 mils, if not more, this season to get that water table back up to where it needs to be after that hectic drought.